The following podcast is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Connect, Australia's newest choice for event management and brand development specializing in pro wrestling.
And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The moves.
B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady on the ground, steady on the ground. You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady.
Hello, and welcome to the Wrestling Landscape Podcast. I am your host, Lance Larson, and this is the Casual Wrestling Podcast, the informal Wrestling Podcast. I am so excited about today's episode. And it's not because this will be the first Wrestling Landscape episode with no cussing, because my 4-year-old nephew is within hearing distance. But I am joined alongside my two brothers, Luke Larson and Trevor Larson. Trevor, you are returning to the Wrestling Landscape. How are ya?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, wide awake?
Yep.
And my older brother, Luke Larson, making his debut on the Wrestling Landscape Podcast. Luke, how are you?
Fabulous.
That is fantastic to hear. On today's Rasslin Rewind episode of the Wrestling Landscape Podcast, we are talking WCW Halloween Havoc 1997 from October the 26th. And one of the main reasons why I'm so excited for today's episode is all three of us, I think, going to offer some different and unique perspectives on the proceedings. And I'm thrilled to get into that. Before we jump into the matches, fellas, we got some business metrics to take care of. Before we do that, let's talk about your wrestling backgrounds. Luke, you're making your debut here on the Wrestling Landscape.
Yep.
Hopefully the first of more to come.
I'd love to.
I would love to. Unless, of course, you suck and we kick you off the podcast.
No, that's fine.
So you...
This is a democracy.
This
That's
is
the way it works.
a perfect democracy. So you started watching wrestling when? Do you remember when you started watching WCW week to week?
Well, WCW actually wasn't my first exposure to professional wrestling. My first exposure was back when I was, I was probably about 5 or 6. And
okay, so that'd be like, what, 93, 94?
Yeah, right around in there. And back then, there was a place called Blockbuster. Doesn't exist anymore. And they had old wrestling VHS tapes, and so the first one that I got was Survivor Series 1990, and so I was able to see my first exposure was the debut of The Undertaker.
Wow! So
that was my first exposure, and then it became regular with WCW in the mid-90s.
See, I did not know that. I'm so glad we're doing this.
Wow.
So I have a vivid memory of being very young and getting Survivor Series 91 when Undertaker beat Hogan.
Yes.
So did we get that shortly thereafter, or was that...
It probably was, because once I watched it, I really enjoyed it, and I think every time we went back to Blockbuster, that was what I looked for.
Okay, that might be my first pro wrestling... I think Survivor Series 91 then is my first pro wrestling memory.
It could be.
Because I remember that very vividly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That also explains why I like Survivor Series so much.
And why I still like The Undertaker.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad we're doing this. I'm learning so much.
There you go.
Okay, so you probably started watching wrestling 93, 94.
Probably right around there, yeah.
Okay, and when do you think you started watching WCW week to week? Because I don't think... because they were just doing Saturday nights, I think. And obviously some various other shows. So, did you watch the debut of Nitro? Do you remember that?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I probably... Because I didn't even see Hogan's heel turn. I wasn't watching it at that point regularly. It was probably late 96, if not early 97.
Okay. Gotcha. And then you were watching WCW regularly until 99 then. Late 99?
God, just in
99.
A little too late, maybe.
Yeah. 99 is when Mom and Dad made me turn it off.
Yes, when we were no longer allowed to watch wrestling.
That's right.
It was a cold few years.
Yeah.
that happened?
Yes, the youngest brother, of course, doesn't remember that.
At WCW?
Yeah, there was, it was just the end of a pay-per-view. Do you remember which one? And they were just cussing a lot at the end of the pay-per-view, and Mom and Dad were like, that's it, we're done.
Well, no, the biggest reason they told me was because Macho Man brought out those 3 scantily clad women for his Great American Bash match.
That's
and
right.
They were done after that point, so...
That's okay.
So,
that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. So, and then I think we were still allowed to do tapes, though, if they were old enough.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we watched some of the older stuff before then, I don't think they might.
Yeah. And I was able to sneak, like, if I was turning the channel, I was able to, like, find, Velocity, like, 3 years later. On a Saturday night. Yeah, long live Velocity. But I don't think we were watching, at least for me, I didn't start watching live wrestling again until 2004.
I was gonna say, there was a gap in there for sure.
Because we'd get tapes every now and then I'd catch something, but I didn't start watching regularly again until 2004.
Yeah.
Which was partially Dad's fault. Because they were doing it was before WrestleMania 20, they were doing a special on it. Dad just looking at the channels. He's like, oh, Lance, check this out. This is cool. I'm like, yeah, it is.
All right, then we can blame Dad for this
Yeah,
podcast.
and then I got back into wrestling.
There you go.
Trevor, flip to you. You were the youngest of us 3. What do you remember? What is your first memory of wrestling?
I don't remember specifics, but I remember watching. I remember WCW being on. I was
Sure.
I was 3. I was 2, 2.5. I was 2.
Wow,
at
yeah.
Hogan's heel turn.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you don't remember that.
So, but I remember WCW being on. Sometimes getting pay-per-views sporadically. But I remember the Hardys.
Yeah, because
when we started watching WWE.
Yeah, because I think that was during our 5-year gap.
We would turn on the Hardys or
because
stuff like that.
What happened was I rented
Eddie Guerrero too. I remember watching
Yes.
some of his matches in WWE.
What got me on the Hardys is I rented WrestleMania 2000, aka WrestleMania 16, and that was the triangle ladder match with the Hardys, Dudley, Edge, and Christian.
See, I didn't see that live. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that live either. I rented it from Blockbuster.
Oh,
And because I went into the match a Dudley's fan, and I came out of that match a Hardys fan.
naturally.
Which, that stuck with me. Okay, and then so, do you remember picking back up watching them with us in like 04, 05?
Well, that pay-per-view that you got, Turning Point.
Oh, that's right!
Turning Point TNA.
That's right, because I started watching TNA. For some weird reason, Mom let me get that Wednesday $10 1 hour TNA pay-per-view.
Is that Turning Point?
No. This was like 03. I like begged Mom to let me get it. She finally came in, and the main event of that 1 hour pay-per-view was a 5-man ladder match. King of the Mountain match, to be specific.
Oh, I remember those.
It was very Russo-rific. And that was the first time I saw AJ Styles. Fell in love. It was funny, because I didn't quite get like the face-heel thing yet. And AJ was a heel, and I just remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh, why do you have to be so arrogant? I want to like you. And then, I was 9 at the time or whatever. Oh, 11, 10, whatever. Anyway, and then we started picking up in 04, on and off since then. And Trevor, you are qualified as a lapsed fan, I would say. You just started getting back into wrestling. When do you think you stopped watching wrestling or stopped liking wrestling?
I would have stopped somewhere in the neighborhood of 8th grade, 9th grade. I chose not to anymore.
And do you know what years that would have been? Would that have been like 07, 08, 09?
Oh, well, I would have been, 14? So, 2008?
2008? Okay.
2009?
Because the last pay-per-view I got was No Mercy 09.
Yep, I remember that. And then, I kind of come back in and leave, and then I grew, I'm older now and don't watch crappy wrestling. I remember trying to get back into it last year, and I don't know what pay-per-view you guys, I came over for last year. There was one of them that Luke had on, and I just was like, I'll just come over for random stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started wanting to get back into it, and then Lance told me about AEW was coming back on, and he started showing me old matches. He showed me Will Ospreay, and he showed me all this other stuff, and I was like, okay, there's good wrestling out there.
Yeah.
You know what I think it was? I think it was the Mania where the Hardys returned.
Oh, that's
right.
That's gotta be it.
33?
Yeah, I think that's where
That's right.
you started getting back into it again.
Mania, what'd you say, Mania?
33 would that have been?
It was whatever year
34?
it was when New Day was hosting.
Yeah.
And they added them to the...
to make it a 4-way
ladder
tag ladder match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
The last few Manias just like blend together.
They
for
really
me.
do.
So I don't know which number is which, but yeah. Okay. Awesome. And Luke, so you've you kind of got out of wrestling into high school or so, wouldn't you say? Or am I misremembering that?
Well, when you started on TNA, I didn't really get into it with you.
Right.
So it was
right.
It really stopped, I think, when I stopped watching WCW
in 99. Wow.
And then I married a professional wrestling fan, so that helped too.
A Stone Cold fan.
A Stone Cold fan.
An ardent Stone Cold fan.
And so, yeah, I mean, obviously you get married and, that interest peaks up again. But,
Sure.
I mean, yeah, in between there, I mean, it probably picked back up, early 2010s. So
Okay.
there was probably at least a good 11, 12-year gap in there where I was just kind of really not into it.
Yeah. And then you guys got the network in early 2015.
Right. Well,
because you missed Survivor Series 14. I remember that
professional wrestling regret of my life because one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Sting, returned and I wasn't there to see it. But anyway,
right.
that is neither here nor there. But yes, right after Survivor Series, I was like, all right, we're getting it.
Okay,
I'm not
sure.
missing any more of this
Sure.
stuff. So yeah.
So late 2014, early 2015,
Yes.
somewhere in there.
Yes.
Awesome. And then you've been pretty regular watching the pay-per-views ever since.
Yeah, I mean, when they're free,
Right.
it helps.
Like you're already paying for it. It's like,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
So, okay. Awesome. And I got back in, because I kind of fell off after 2009, because I got that No Mercy pay-per-view, and I enjoyed it, and I watched some thereafter, but after that I was kind of in and out. And what got me into it was because you guys got the network back, and I was coming over for pay-per-views, and then WrestleMania 32 was fascinating to me, because Roman was still being pushed as the guy, and the crowd was booing him. And to me, that was just like the most interesting thing. I'm like, what is happening?
Nothing's changed in 7 years.
That was 7 years ago?
No, that was not 7 years ago. That was WrestleMania 32.
Feels like 7 years.
Which, would that have been 2015, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Feels like Roman's been here for a decade.
Roman's been here for a while. And shockingly, it was Roman Reigns that got me back into wrestling. Because I think I'm the one fan that can say that. Because I was just fascinated.
Seriously.
I was just so interested that, like...
Yeah, that is an interesting...
Yeah, and so I started watching, and then obviously WWE was a little disappointing. Hearing about wrestling in Japan, it's like, oh, that sounds good. So I started checking that out, and that just opened the floodgates for, me watching IWF from Moscow at 10 p.m. on a Thursday night.
And then you wrote for Australia.
Yes, I specifically covered Australian indie wrestling for Last Word on ProWrestling.com.
Which they already know, probably.
Which, I don't know who's listening, but...
It's worth repeating.
And I got really into that scene, and then that spurned new opportunities, like this podcast. So, anyway, after 12 minutes of introducing our professional wrestling background, which is important, let's go ahead and chat some business of Halloween Havoc. Okay, so the Wrestling Observer newsletter is Dave Meltzer's newsletter.
Huh?
And for every major show, they have fans email, call, write in, say, hey, was this a thumbs up show, thumbs down show, thumbs middle show, and what was your favorite match and what was the worst match?
Okay.
So, the Wrestling Observer newsletter audience, 48% gave this a thumbs up, 10.5% gave this a thumbs middle, and a 41.5% gave it a thumbs down.
I would have been in that 41%.
Oh, man.
The best match was voted Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero.
No, hands down.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
hands down best match
that should not
of the night.
surprise anyone.
That was an amazing match. Well, for this pay-per-view, that was an amazing match.
And on the worst match was voted Hogan Piper in the cage.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, both of you were surprised. Oh, I can't wait to go through
Yeah,
this
because they
pay-per-view.
count Jacqueline and Inferno. If you count that one, I'm surprised.
And if you count whatever Alex Wright did with Steve Michael in the ring.
Oh,
my God.
which I think that match being voted best and the other match being voted worst should have been we know where this company should have gone, and it did not go that direction.
It did not go that way.
We will save that discussion for a later day.
Yes.
So this show drew 12,457 fans, which was a sellout. 10,138 of them were paid. So in ticket sales at the gate, they got $297,000 and another $102,000 in merch. So that's $4,000 for ticket sales and merch in the building that night.
Watch Inferno run around.
To watch Inferno run around. They also had a 1.1 pay-per-view buy rate.
Okay.
Which translates to 405,000 buys.
Okay.
So if this was a $30 pay-per-view,
Yeah.
which is a safe to bet
Robert, yeah.
Sure. So I just used a $30 pay-per-view math,
Yeah.
which would mean WCW would get $15 per buy because they split it with the cable companies.
Right.
So that means approximately this night drew $6.5 million in revenue for WCW.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing that this could pull six.
$6.5 million.
Amazing.
Hey man, they were so hot. Like they really, really were. So on the October 20th Monday night, Nitro drew a 4.54 rating on TV, which means 4.5% of the people watching TV that night were watching Nitro.
Wow.
Raw drew a 2.96 that night.
That's incredible.
So Nitro was still crushing Raw in the ratings.
That's incredible.
Now, a year from this moment, October 98, is the last time Nitro will outdo Raw.
Man.
A year after this. Okay, so just to compare it to WWF's October pay-per-view, which I like doing on these WCW
Yeah, sure.
reviews. So WWF's October pay-per-view was Bad Blood, the first ever Hell in a Cell match. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, as was rated 5 stars by Dave Meltzer.
Interesting.
Which is an excellent match. If anyone who's listening has not seen that Hell in a Cell match, please go watch it. It's
I don't know if
very,
I've
very
seen
good.
it.
It's a long match, but it's very, very good.
I'm okay with long matches.
So Bad Blood,
If they're good.
i.e. NXT TakeOver last night discussion.
Jeez.
Anyway, it was an hour long. This is not a TakeOver episode. I already recorded that, so hopefully you'll listen to that before you listen to this. WWF's Bad Blood drew 21,000 fans, 17,000 paid, but drew less money in ticket sales, 212,000. So they sold more tickets, but they were more inexpensive.
Right.
So 212,000. Drew 101,000 in merch, so about the same. And had a 0.6 pay-per-view buy rate, which translates to 240,000 buys.
Oh my goodness.
So they approximately had about $4 million in revenue compared to the $6.5 million for Halloween Havoc.
Oh.
So that's about where these two companies are in October 97. Now, also important to note, the night before Bad Blood for WWF was the night Brian Pillman died. He was found dead in his hotel room the morning of the pay-per-view. We were also approximately 3 weeks away from the Montreal Screwjob.
That was my next question I was about to ask you.
So the business is about to change for lots and lots of reasons. But that's the business side of the show. That's where they are compared to the WWF, the Fed, if you will. Guys, you ready to go match by match?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about this show. I am so excited.
Should we do it in our best Dusty Rhodes voice the whole
No,
time?
absolutely not.
Luke and I were just practicing our Dusty Rhodes voice before this.
Jericho on his podcast makes everyone do the Dusty voice if they ever bring him up. It's like a gimmick. He's like, if you mention Dusty, you have to do an impersonation. So the opening bout, Halloween Havoc 1997, is Yuji Nagata and Ultimo Dragon. Now, I know neither of you guys watch New Japan, and I always forget that WCW had a relationship with New Japan in the 90s.
Yeah.
So when I see Yuji Nagata coming out as a young gun that he was then, I was flabbergasted because I did not expect to see Blue Justice on this show, who a soon-to-be IWGP Heavyweight Champion and also a failed MMA career. But that was not necessarily his fault. Are
we talking about CM Punk now?
We're dab on him.
That's what I was thinking.
No. But this is not a podcast on Inokiism, so we'll leave that there. But Yuji Nagata. Yuji Nagata defeats Ultimo Dragon in the opening contest. Luke, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I remember Ultimo Dragon. He was actually one of my favorite cruiserweights when I was watching WCW. I really liked him in the ring. I thought this match was really just what I remember from the cruiserweight matches at the time. Very, very entertaining. There's always something going on. Spots were great. If I remember correctly, I think there was 1 or 2 botches that I remember in this match that kind of made me drop the rating I gave it a little bit. But yeah, this was one of those classic WCW cruiserweight matches that I always enjoyed.
Sure, Trevor.
Yeah, it was good. Nothing special. I feel like every time I watch Ultimo Dragon, I get these moments where I'm like, oh, I think I really like him, and then it just kind of like doles off, and so it's like I've looked at the last pay-per-view we did, and I gave this same rating to the Ultimo Dragon match.
Sure. What was that rating? We'll do ratings.
3.
3 flat?
Yeah.
3 flat from Big Trev.
I gave it a 2.75.
2.75
Close.
from Luke.
Yeah, Dave's too.
Yeah, of course I got Big Dave's.
Big Dave's.
I love comparing against Big Dave's. I gave it a 3.75, 3 3/4.
Wow, okay.
Thought this was very good.
All right.
Now, that also could be, I'm a little more familiar with Japanese style wrestling.
Yeah.
So I could have been maybe just more familiar with what they were kind of going for. That said, I do think Ultimo Dragon was Americanizing his style a little bit. Because this dude was much more popular in Mexico and Japan than he was here in the States.
I can imagine.
And Yuji Nagata would obviously be much more popular in Japan than America. Big Dave gave this 3 3/4 as well.
Huh.
3.75 from Mr. Dave Meltzer. Something else to note, Raven on his flock came down and sat by ringside
Yes.
during this match.
That's who that was.
Yeah.
Like one of those weird goth kids.
It was the soon-to-be Billy Kidman.
I was going to say, this was right before Billy
That's
Kidman
right.
joined
Yeah.
Raven's
Yeah.
flock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Cruiserweight division is about to pick up. So yeah, I enjoyed this match. Good work. Basic psychology, but still made sense. I was surprised that Nagata got the win.
Yeah, me too.
Because Ultimo Dragon's a regular.
He is a regular, yeah.
And I don't think Yuji Nagata is.
I don't think he was at the time, no.
So, now listen, he could be back for next month's pay-per-view and that's it.
Mm.
Like, this could have just been like a 1-month thing for him. But unless he's returning, I don't know why he got the win. Or unless Dragon was leaving, I don't know why he got the win.
He's probably at least in the World War III match. I mean, they
You
need
need everybody.
They need bodies for that.
It's a
They
good
pull people
point.
up the street for that.
Yeah, building up
60 guys.
Building up Yuji Nagata for the World War III Battle Royal is super important and really high on their list. Okay, now we're going to move on to our second match. Speaking of New Japan crossover, this one blew my mind even more so. It's Chris Jericho versus Gato, whom they entirely mispronounced his name the entire match, calling him Ghetto. And even when they asked for the correct pronunciation, Mike Tenay told them incorrectly, Ghetto. It's pronounced Gato, as any New Japan fan knows. And, guys, I don't know if you know this, Gato is currently the New Japan booker.
Oh,
And
okay.
honestly, probably one of the smartest men in the business in 2019.
All right.
Which, looking at his appearance from 1997, might shock you. Because he looked like an absolute doofus.
He was a little odd looking when
He
he's
was a little odd looking. But and he was an average wrestler, I would say. Average is kind of mean. He was a fine wrestler. But nothing special as a wrestler. But he is a brilliant booker. And obviously Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho. So, I enjoyed this match. I thought it was fun, but nothing special. Luke, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, obviously I'm familiar with who Chris Jericho is and was now,
Mhm.
I guess. I mean, I guess he still wrestles in AEW now, but yeah, I thought it was a good match. I thought that the spots were really good. I thought that it was kind of like the Nagata Ultimo Dragon match where it kept your attention. There wasn't any point where I was like not interested in what was going on. Yeah, I thought it was a really good match.
Yeah. Trev?
Yeah, I thought it was very similar in kind of excitement and just the build up in it as the first match. And so I feel like the way at this time I felt about Ultimo Dragon and Jericho, I was very similar. Like, I think I really like these guys, but they're just kind of stopped at a certain point in terms of how much I like them. So yeah, I love watching Jericho in these old days, seeing his hair flow. And
Yeah. Back when he was a handsome heartthrob babyface.
That's right.
Get the walls of Jericho going.
Yeah. It's fun to hear him talk about his days in Mexico, because he was like a super heartthrob babyface then. So we talk about he'd walk out of a building and just be like swarmed with like teenage and 20-something women, just like kissing his cheeks and leaving.
Probably doesn't happen now.
I don't think so.
Does he have like 4 kids?
He is married with 2 kids?
Okay, all right.
I don't know how many kids. I don't know his life. But yes, he is a family man now.
Yeah.
With a wife and a few kids.
Yes, indeed.
I gave this match 2 3/4. 2.75. Trevor?
3.
3 flat. Luke?
3 flat for me too.
3 flat. Big Dave also gave it 3 flat.
Okay.
So we're all very close.
We're all
right
very
there.
close right there. Something to keep in mind, if you're a quarter of a star difference, that's basically agreement. So.
Yeah.
Okay. We had Mongo McMichael and Deborah had a horrible segment with Mean Gene backstage. Mean Gene was the only one with charisma. Okay, we're going to move on to an all-time classic. You really enjoyed that. An all-time classic. When people talk about the WCW Cruiserweight division, this is one of the first matches that gets brought up. This is a match that I still remember 22 years later and still talked about 22 years later. It is mask versus title. Rey Mysterio Jr. challenging Eddie Guerrero for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Guys, there's only so much to say about this match. It was excellent. For its time in America, it was incredibly innovative and brand new. AAA had been doing some of this stuff in Mexico from like 92 to 95 when they were super hot. A lot of Japanese women wrestlers had been doing similar stuff in Japan in the early 90s. It was funny to hear Conan talk about like the AAA early days in Mexico. He said they got a lot of their stuff from Japanese women wrestlers.
Oh, there you go.
And they did it in AAA, then they brought it to WCW and did it in America. So I don't know. That's weird lineage for a lot of the cool moves that kind of blow our minds in 1997. Guys, it was an Americanized style match with lots of cool lucha spots, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, it was great.
Luke, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, as much as the first two matches held my attention, this was one where it was like, it brought me to the edge of my seat to watch, because obviously I knew who both of these guys were, obviously from my days watching WCW and, knowing about, mid-2000s WWE, and obviously Ray's still going right now. But yeah, this was exactly what I remember from those two guys from those days. It was definitely a nostalgia moment, getting to see those two wrestle, and just like they always do at the highest level. So it was a great match.
The springboard moonsault DDT.
That's right.
Trevor.
There was one moment, I wish I could remember. I was just trying to think about it while we were talking, but there's one moment where I got excited, and when I was watching in my room, by myself, with the lights turned off,
As you should always watch Rey Mysterio and Guerrero matches.
Trying to make it weird for the listeners. No, it was normal. There was one moment where I got excited.
You can't describe the situation and say, I got excited.
There was a thrilling point in the match.
We're peeking the speaker so bad on this.
To which I jumped out of my seat and went, whoa!
Whoa, Nelly.
I wish I remember which part of the match it was.
No, I'm sure there were several of that.
Yeah, there was probably a couple times where that would have been the case.
I don't normally do that with a lot of matches, even AEW or something. So
guys, can we agree that like even if this match were to happen in 2019, like it would still be rated very highly. Like it was move for move, pace exactly the same.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it would. Yeah, like this is a match that could have happened anywhere, anytime, and it would be considered a good match. Also, I gave this 4.5.
Okay.
Luke?
I give this 4.25.
4.25 from Luke.
4.5.
4.5. Big Dave gave it 4 3/4.
Wow.
So we're all very high on this match. Match is like the poster child for the WCW Cruiserweight division. So as we all should be. Now, Trevor, this is the third pay-per-view in a row where the Cruiserweight Championship changed hands.
That's right.
You've been watching WCW pay-per-views since
96 Bash at the Beach.
Great American Bash. Remember you started a pay-per-view early?
Oh yeah. You said it was. I think you said it was that one. I started watching it because you said that was Hogan's heel turn.
Trevor,
and I watched the wrong one.
Yeah. Trevor asked me which one Hogan turned heel on. I said Bash at the Beach. He got confused in his head. He started watching Great American Bash.
Yeah, cool. They got two bashes.
They got two bashes. So you've been watching pay-per-views since May '96.
Yes.
Not June '96, May '96. Do you feel like any of these frequent title changes is hurting the importance of the belt at all, or does that not matter to you because it's an undercard title?
Well, what I think I think just doing two things. I think it's building up the talent. There's more than just two guys at the top, which is what it seems like with the belt. Hogan's only fighting Luger or Piper for most of the time. So what it does for the Cruiserweight is it says there's plenty of talent that's striving
it's a very
for the belt,
competitive division,
which is good.
Yeah.
But then it also does what you said, and it's kind of, the belt's not that important.
Right. So,
and plus, in some of these you have other matches, you have multiple Cruiserweight matches. So you have, first one, is a nobody match or something. The next one is for the title belt.
Yuji Nagata just got called a nobody by Trevor Larson throwing shade.
I said the wrong one. But you have that. You have the title match, and you have another match, and any four of those guys could be fighting for the the belt.
Right.
Whereas in these other matches, you're like, oh, it's Hogan, Piper, nobody else is going to fight for it.
Yeah. So for you, as someone that's been watching pay-per-views since '96, is the main event talent getting a little stale to you? Tired of seeing the same guys? Or not quite there
I
yet?
said, he's fighting Luger, Piper. Sting shows up, points at people with a bat, and then leaves. Comes out from the rafters.
Sure.
That's the same thing basically every time.
So you're ready for something different at the top of the card.
I'm ready for something different, and actually, I haven't been watching the Nitros, but, Goldberg shows up in this pay-per-view.
Goldberg does show up in this pay-per-view.
Surprisingly, I got excited about.
Hey!
I never knew I get excited for Goldberg.
Goldberg and Lesnar are the biggest turnoffs for Trev in professional wrestling.
In '98, he got insanely hot. And if it weren't for him, WCW probably would have started going down sooner.
Yep.
He really helped
Makes
extend
sense.
the life of their business.
Makes sense.
And they completely lucked into it. So, which we will talk about as he gets more involved with the pay-per-views. But for right now, he is very much a background player in WCW.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, OUTBREAK NUTRITION. OUTBREAK NUTRITION are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at OUTBREAK NUTRITION. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B+ podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
Next,
We got two barn burners here now.
we got, the rest of the night is just filled with barn burners. We have a, we are certainly past the work rate part of the pay-per-view.
Yes.
Next, we have a Bishop Hogan promo. Hogan says he will not wrestle if Sting is not banned from the arena, setting up a show-long storyline that will be furthered as we go on. Next, we have Alex Wright.
Well, it was Steve McMichael versus a mystery partner.
It was Alex Wright was that's right, because Deborah was just coming out with anyone.
Yeah, because Jarrett wasn't there.
Oh my!
This is when Goldberg shows up in the middle of the match.
So I'm sorry, you're right. It is Steve Mongo McMichael. Is he Mongo yet? Like I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great football player.
Yeah. Steve Mongo McMichael, formerly of the NFL, going on with Alex Wright. So this match happened.
Yes,
and then Goldberg attacked Mongo while Deborah distracted the ref, and Alex
ref had no idea.
Ref had no idea.
Somehow.
Can
we talk about the fact that, listen, props to Charles Robinson for acting as distracted as he possibly could.
Doing the role he was supposed to do.
When this lady did nothing to distract the referee.
She was on the ground.
Listen, Charles Robinson, standing ovation for you, man. You were the star of this match, hands down.
He was half turned to the
I
ring.
know. He did the best he could.
And there's moves happening. And
The ring is shaking beneath him with the weight of 3 men.
when he turned around, Alex Wright was laying on the ground, not moving. And then all of a sudden, the moves happen, and he's on top of Mongo.
Folks, you need to go watch the finish of this match for yourselves.
Or not.
No, they don't need to.
So Goldberg is on a WCW pay-per-view doing an angle. Helping the TV champ Alex Wright get a win.
No, Disco's the TV champ.
Disco has a belt.
Disco's the TV. When did Alex Wright lose it? Did he lose it on
He lost
Nitro?
it to Disco on Nitro.
He lost it to Disco. Thank you. Luke watched the Nitros leading up to
Oh, I
this,
bet that was
so-
a great match.
Two dancing fools in the ring doing absolutely nothing.
Hey, that match writes itself.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So I am not the former TV champ getting a win here. Fellas, I gave this match 1 3/4 stars. Luke?
I was a 1.75 as well. Most of it because of Charles Robinson.
And do you have any other thoughts on the match you want to contribute?
I mean, okay, so here's I
If it was a different ref, it'd probably been like a quarter star for Luke.
I thought because Goldberg was an ex-football player and because Mongo was an ex-football player, I thought the idea of being like the payment for Goldberg getting the win for Alex Wright, a Super Bowl, I thought that was a great idea.
Sure, yeah.
That's a great angle.
Yeah.
It was done terribly, but I like the idea.
Yeah.
I love the idea.
Sure. That's so true. I didn't think about it. That's a really good point. Trevor, thoughts?
Mongo always has some good spots. I think sometimes he can be good.
He uses his size to advantageous presence.
Yeah.
Alex Wright, in the 2 or 3 matches I've seen of him now, has not furthered any match.
Oh, not yet, Austin.
Not yet, buddy.
That is the aforementioned 4-year-old nephew, if you can hear him.
Isn't he 3?
3. He'll be 4 in 2 months.
Oh, I'm jumping the gun!
Yeah.
He rounds up to 4.
Might as well.
If Alex Wright was not fighting in these matches, they would have gotten better. If it was Mongo just fighting the Invisible Man, they would have been better.
Who knew if the Invisible Man had just made his debut a few years earlier?
So I give this 2.5.
2.5 from Trevor.
It was fun at times. Not fun. I shouldn't say fun.
Do you want to know what Big Dave Meltz gave this?
Under 1?
Minus 1.5.
No way!
Oh, we can go negative?
He does. I don't. I'm 0 to 5 as my type structure.
Oh my word.
He has no floor. He has no ceiling. Meltzer has gone like minus 486 on something before.
Wait, is that the next match?
Oh!
No, because it wasn't even a match.
Oh, that's true.
Doesn't count.
It was a marathon run by Disco Inferno.
Okay, so before we get to that match,
Yeah.
we have Macho Man cutting an incomprehensible promo.
Literally, I told Luke, I leaned over to him, I said, dude, never put this guy in the mic ever again.
No one...
We're gonna raise him in front of him.
Oh, yeah!
DDP, I'm gonna get him.
No one on planet Earth, especially Elizabeth, who was right next to him, could possibly understand what on God's green earth he was trying to say.
Oh my goodness.
Next, speaking of incomprehensible, we have Jacqueline versus Disco Inferno. Fellas, I had read that this match
Replay.
was punishment for Disco. He did something in the back to upset somebody, and so they booked him to lose to Jacqueline, in which most of the match he just ran away.
I'd say 95%.
And who knew 22 years later Disco Inferno would be repeating this gimmick in Impact Wrestling, much to the dismay of everyone.
No way he repeated it.
He was feuding with the entire women's division in Impact Wrestling. I hated it. Anyone that knows jack crap about wrestling hated it. Luke, but we're not here to talk about Impact Wrestling in 2019. We're here to talk Halloween Havoc 97. Luke, your thoughts on Jacqueline defeating Disco Inferno?
Are we sure that Disco feuding with the entire women's division isn't just a reflection of Disco's real life? Anyway, this was, it was interesting. I mean, Yeah, there's not much
Exactly.
It's just
like,
one of
what
those.
can you say?
I mean, yeah, there was like one spot where I went, okay, nice move.
Sure.
The rest of it was just a disaster.
And, like, they really played up the psychology of he's like, I want to win, but I don't want to punch her, which is sexist, but whatever. It's an agreed-upon match, like, if the rules are the rules. So I thought that, like, for what they were going for, it at least was psychologically sound. So I gave it 1 1/4.
No way.
I gave it 1 1/4. Because I thought what they were going for at least made sense. Jacqueline would very much get better as a professional wrestler as time went on.
She became WWF Women's Champ, didn't she?
Yes, she certainly got better than where she was here. Trevor, thoughts on this match? Your side can be your comments if you want it to be.
I don't understand.
Exactly. Let's talk about that. Like, this is the stuff WCW was putting on pay-per-view when you actually had to pay.
Remember, they made
to see this.
$6.5 million.
And Trev made the comment earlier. This was long before we started, but he made the comment. He said, "This is beating WWF."
Yeah, guys, this is beating a 5-star classic into Hell in a Cell.
I thought the spots that actually did happen in this were good.
Sure.
But they were few and far between. I gave it a 0.25.
0.25. Luke.
I gave it a 0.5.
Meltzer gave it 0.25.
Yeah, I'm with Meltzer, Big Dave.
Just a 1/4 star from Big Melts. Okay.
I'm surprised he gave this a higher rating
Than the...
I mean, at least that was a wrestling match.
Yeah. I'm with you. I gave the last one higher, too.
Hey, can we talk... Okay, wait. I hate to go back to a previous match.
Please.
Can we talk about how the announcers did not once talk about the Mongo McMichael Alex Wright match?
They didn't.
The entire time.
They were talking about
the Hogan
NWO promo.
They didn't even announce the match.
Guys.
Until the end, and they were like, whoa! Something happened, and Heenan was like, whoa! And that's literally like towards the end, like right before he came.
Guys, that is a reoccurring problem with WCW, especially as we go forward. It's just all about the top guys, which is fine. If promotions are all about their main event, that's fine. But in time, that comes to really hurt this promotion because people start not caring about the main event talent. And even towards late 97, like Trevor was talking about, people are ready for something new. They're not quite ready yet for the NWO to just go away.
Ready for Goldberg.
But they get ready for Goldberg fast. And of course, WCW does everything they can to kill that. But we'll talk about that as we go along.
Yeah.
Next, we had a match that made sense from last pay-per-view's booking.
Yep.
Luke, Fall Brawl 97, ended with a War Games match.
Yep.
Kurt Hennig was supposed to be the 4th member of the Horsemen. Instead, he joined the NWO and gave them the victory. Flair is obviously working for revenge here, but instead, he gets a DQ.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the match?
Now, look, I might be in the minority with this, but in all honesty, Kurt Hennig was one of my favorite performers in the ring growing up. I thought I thought he was great in the ring. I loved watching Kurt Hennig, and I'm like, okay, we got a Ric Flair Kurt Hennig match. I thought I was gonna rate this one the highest of any of the matches in the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed and let down by what went on. I thought it could have been a lot better, especially with who was wrestling in the match.
Yep.
I enjoyed it. Anytime Flair wrestles Hennig, I'll watch that. You say, tell me Flair is wrestling Hennig, I'll watch that any day of the week. But yeah, the performance and kind of going out of character with what they did in the ring almost was a little bit of a turn off to me. So, it was an average match to me.
Yeah. Same. So it, because it was a grudge match, they are going to work it a little differently.
Sure.
And here in 97, Hennig is well past his, let's say, physical peak. He has had some major back problems. He is on copious amounts of drugs to deal with those back problems, which would lead to an early demise for Mr. Perfect. So he is not in the best shape. He still works amazingly well for someone with a terrible back.
Yes.
Especially with that classic perfect bump where he's holding onto the top rope and like someone kicks out his legs and he just instantly lands in the back of his head. Because he's Kurt Hennig and he bumps for the business that made him.
That's right.
And his dad. Good old Larry Hennig. The Axe. Former AWA Tag Team Champion back when the AWA existed and mattered. But Vince McMahon took that away from us too. So, So yeah, like I said, this was a logical rematch from the previous pay-per-view. I thought it had good heat. Thought it was a decently worked match, but the DQ finish really hurt it for me.
Yeah.
Is there a rematch upcoming? Like, there has to be. Like, this can't just be the end of this. Which
I can't imagine they'd end it.
Yeah.
In the feud like this.
The problem with WCW, though, is that it might be. Because what happens is that you have people that neither of them want to lose, so you get a DQ finish to a feud. Now, Flair is not someone that does that. Flair's usually just fine with losing to people. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to assume that this is going to move forward and have some kind of conclusion, unless they pull a WCW and just drop it all together and never talk about it again. Not because someone won't job, but because they just forget and don't care, because it's not about Hogan, Hall, or Nash. Or Piper. Because as Bischoff once famously said, the only people that ever drew a dime in this business were Savage, Piper, and Hogan. He said that to his roster.
That's good for employee
This
morale.
company, yeah, I know.
Savage.
Trevor, thoughts on this match?
I was okay with it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought the ending screwed it up, but maybe it's because I'm tracking the pay-per-views and I liked where it was going, and so that I had emotion into it.
Yeah, because of the last pay-per-view.
So I thought this match was okay. You're going to be surprised by my rating,
Oh,
I think.
what is it?
3.75.
375.
Oh, wow.
Wow, even with a DQ finish, Luke.
All right, yeah, I had it as a 2.5, 2.5. Just really right smack dab in the middle. I thought it was an average match,
I gave it 3. So we were all like spacing each other out.
Right.
Dave?
Big Dave gave it 1.75.
Okay.
So we all disagree with Meltzer here. Which is fun. I disagree with Meltzer all the time. As we all should. It's one man's opinion when you're rating a match.
Yeah.
Or one woman's, or person, or whatever pronoun you prefer. Moving on. We have good old J.J. Dillon giving yes, that J.J. Dillon.
The very same one.
The very same one. The only J.J. Dillon in the business. Have you ever met anyone else named J.J. Dillon? Okay. He is giving Bischoff the contract saying Sting is without a doubt banned from the arena, and Bischoff still cowers away saying, wait, you don't have that kind of pull? 3 different times. But it looks like the contract is signed, and so Hogan is back to a corner and will most likely have to participate in the main event. Next, we have a match that also logically proceeds from last month's pay-per-view. Yeah. Scott Hall and Lex Luger going one-on-one with Larry Zbyszko as the special guest referee, because last month there was a... Yep. Last month, there was a pay-per-view that had Hall and Luger on opposite sides of a tag match, and the ref was bumped, so another one came out. That ref was bumped, so Larry Zbyszko, the living legend, came down from the commentary booth and counted the pin, which is not official in any way, shape, or form.
They rang the bell.
Yep, they rang the bell and the match ended. So this month, Larry Zbyszko is officially the special guest referee for Hall and Luger. Guys, this is not my cup of tea. Luke, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, when you say it's not your cup of tea, other than Zbyszko being the special guest referee, these are the guys that, I think I voted more with my my heart than my head on this one. So I probably liked it a lot more than you guys will.
If you liked it at all, you liked it more than I did.
But, it was fine. I mean, I wasn't blown away by it. It was fine. It
was late 90s shenanigans.
Yeah.
If you were a fan of those, you were a fan of this. Trevor?
Yeah, it wasn't memorable, but I thought it was okay. Yeah. That's it for this.
That's it for this. I gave it 2 stars, ?
Yeah, that's basically
You almost questioned yourself on the rating you gave it?
Yeah, because I don't know, too.
I questioned mine as well.
That was just my reaction. Luke?
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth on mine. I think I floated between a 2 and a 2.5. Mm-hmm. I ended on a 2.5 because, like I said, it voted more than my heart than my head.
Luke, you like what you like. Never let someone tell you shouldn't like something or that you have to like something, okay? Pro wrestling is completely subjective. Trevor?
3.
3 flat from Trevor. Big Dave gave this a 0.75.
Okay.
Big Dave was not a fan of this.
Oh, that's hilarious.
This match is clearly setting up Zbyszko versus Bischoff at Starrcade. So we are starting that storyline. Yes, that match happens.
I was just about to ask, please God, tell me that does not happen.
No.
Does Bischoff just run around the whole time? pull an Inferno?
No, he does not. So we have Zbyszko and Bischoff upcoming at the most bought WCW pay-per-view of all time, folks. That match is outdrawing WWF.
Amazing.
Okay. So, look, before we go on, I want to talk about... So, clearly there are bright things about the company. There's things we've praised.
Oh, for sure.
But there are lots of warning signs that this company has a lot of internal problems.
And we haven't gotten to most of them yet.
We haven't even gotten to most of them yet.
Most of them are the next 2 matches.
Most of them are the next 2 matches. So, listen. The money was coming in at this time, and so it just seems people got it in their head that, hey, we know what we're doing, because look at the money that's coming in.
Yeah, we're doing it right. Yeah.
Right. Whatever we're doing wrong can't be that bad.
Right.
But eventually, people are only willing to overlook so much before they stop giving you their business. It's happening with the WWE ratings right now, and it happened with WCW come the second half of 98. Because people are still hot, they still like what's going on, Goldberg comes along, keeps them up even more.
Yep.
Once they get tired of that,
Yep.
people start tuning out, stop buying less pay-per-views, and that's what happens.
This is the same company that would include Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman in a tag team match.
Dennis Rodman, was on a match.
And Jay Leno.
And Jay Leno at Road Wild 98. Well, one day, fans.
That's coming.
One day.
Why do they even do Road Wild? Any of those?
They don't make a cent on ticket sales because there's no tickets. Not a penny. Which, guys, think about it. They made $300,000 at the gate on this show. 0 for Road Wild every year. And people wonder why this company lost money.
Now, don't get me wrong. Karl Malone actually is part of one of my favorite spots in WCW history.
Apparently, Karl Malone was a total professional.
Yeah.
He worked hard, and he was fine.
Yes.
No one had a single complaint about Karl Malone.
That sounds like Karl Malone.
It was Dennis Rodman.
That I'm not so surprised about.
I don't think if you told anyone that those two were going into a new industry that they had no part of to do like one day of work, and you would ask who's going to be professional and who wasn't, everyone would pick correctly on that one.
I don't think the NBA thought Dennis Rodman was a professional.
No one did. Okay, guys, let's get to it. Let's do this. Okay, we had Randy Savage versus DDP, and I don't know what they called it, but it was a last man standing match. They had a special name for it. Do you remember what it was? I didn't even bother writing it down. Because it was just a last man standing match.
Did they even name it?
They had a special name for it. It was like a... Oh, were they in Vegas?
Yes.
It was like a Vegas street fight knockout something or other. I just wrote down last man standing match because that's what it was. This is not my kind of match. They worked hard. There was some psychology I appreciated.
His ribs and...
Yeah. Working the torso.
Yeah.
Fake Sting got involved.
Which one?
A fake Sting got involved.
Just wait for the next match.
At this point, I almost feel like it's Sting 1, Sting 2 instead of Thing 1, Thing 2. Like there's just 100. Like,
that actually worked really well.
Yeah.
Which gave Savage the victory over DDP in this. DDP came in injured. Like Trevor said, he attacked the ribs throughout the match. Savage got the win. Luke, what did you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, the match itself I thought was just really odd. I would have liked to have just seen him in a regular match. I thought that would have been fine. I thought that probably would have worked better. Yeah, I mean, I forgot how great DDP was at playing to the crowd. He was a really good showman. I forgot that about him. So I enjoyed watching his performance.
Yes.
And so I think I might have looked at that a little bit more strictly and given that a higher rating. But yeah, I thought DDP was a great showman.
Awesome. Austin, what Austin, do you like wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's awesome.
Lion King is so dumb.
That's
Well, one of the greatest matches of all time is Scar and Mufasa.
Yes, absolutely. In an Inferno match, nonetheless.
Inferno match, yeah.
5.5 stars.
Trevor's breaking the scale on that one.
And it was a lumberjack match with the hyenas
It
around ringside.
was a lumberjack Inferno match. The first ever of its kind.
That's right.
Oh, anyway, Trevor, what were your thoughts on this match? After we had the run-in from Austin.
I don't think I've ever enjoyed a Macho Man match.
In WCW.
Correct.
Okay,
I was like,
since I started watching in 96.
Sure, since May 96.
Great American Bash or Bash at the Beach, whatever it was. I think I still have yet to enjoy a match of his.
We should watch some good Macho Man stuff from his WWF days.
Yes. He had some good ones.
Show me he's good. DDP, I usually like watching, so this was kind of interesting to see them go at it and kind of give me. It felt weird the whole time, but DDP was kind of good and it was okay at some points.
Sure. I went 2 1/4 for the star rating. Luke,
I went 3 1/4.
3 1/4.
Yeah.
Trevor,
2 3/4.
2 3/4. Big Dave went 3 1/4.
All right.
Y'all were a little higher than me, including Big Dave.
Big Dave.
But guys, we're there. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
We are. We're at the main event. We are at the main event. Roddy Piper versus Hulk Hogan.
For the 3rd or 4th time.
I believe it's the 3rd
At a
time.
pay-per-view in the last year and a half.
Yes. Less in the last 10 months.
Yes.
Their first encounter was at
because it didn't
Starrcade
start till later.
96.
Yep.
They met sometime in the spring, correct, of 97 at a pay-per-view? Was it Spring Stampede
It was
or
the
a
rematch.
Super Brawl? Yeah.
In
it was Super
February
Brawl.
or March.
If it was February, I think it's Super Bowl. Most positive it was February Super Bowl. And then their 3rd and final match here at Havoc 97. Guys, I don't even know if this match was for the title or not.
They never said.
They never said.
And they never gave him the belt afterwards.
Well, and because Piper held on to the belt for 2 weeks beforehand.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so what happened was the Piper came out and was doing a promo, and this is where he said the famous line, "In Salt Lake City, Utah, I've had more cage matches than Brigham Young had wives." Look it up, that actually happened.
Oh my gosh.
And the NWO came out and attacked him, and Piper got the belt and kept it, and so Hogan, for the next couple weeks, was all upset. He wanted the belt back, and Piper said it was in safe hands. Apparently, he gave it to Sting. So Hogan hadn't even had the title for like 3 weeks prior to this match. Piper brought it out. He wasn't even the champ.
Sure.
I don't even know if they really ever answered that question.
They never did. You would think when there's a champ who has his belt stolen by the challenger, that's the kind of match that would forbid the title. They never specified. The ref wasn't even in the ring until 20 minutes into this thing.
Yeah,
The ref locked himself out.
Yeah. Can we talk about the front door? Literally, as they're going out, 10 minutes into the match, Bobby the Brain's like, "Oh, if Hogan goes out, the match is over." Hogan goes out, Piper follows him, and I'm like, "Oh,
Nothing.
and then the match kept going. I went, "What? Why is that door unlocked?" And then they show him lock it later, and then the ref comes in later easily. He doesn't even unlock it. He just opens it. I was like, so he didn't even lock it earlier when they showed him locking it?
Did they figure out halfway through the match they were supposed to keep it locked?
I have no idea.
Were you supposed to... And then it was like a pin. I thought you were supposed to escape the cage, and that's how you win.
Nope.
But they got pinned. The ref flew in.
Guys, this is the cage match WCW put up to counter Hell in a Cell. This is their
I would
counter.
have just live streamed the Hell in a Cell.
I was confused.
So, folks, if you haven't seen this match, there was no rhyme or reason to anything. Piper and Hogan didn't take a single bump.
No, they didn't.
This match was beyond atrocious. Savage made a run-in and did a jump off the top of the cage.
Oh, I forgot about that.
The
That's
one
right.
exciting
Yeah,
thing.
that was cool.
That was the coolest part of the match.
Almost broke his ankle.
That was awesome.
Luke, you
Can we talk about the cage itself?
the cage itself! So
That thing looked like it couldn't hold me.
it was very flimsy. So guys, think about a Hell in a Cell cage, how it's like on the floor and not on the apron, but without a roof, and it's the crisscross beams instead of the mesh fence. I'd never seen it before in my life. I hadn't seen it since. Like, I've never seen a quote-unquote cage match like this.
What about that Bret Hart cage?
That was the blue bars.
That looks safer than this.
That looked way safer. Well, yeah, that was like heavy metal. You're talking about Bret Hart, Owen Hart, SummerSlam 94? Yep, semi-main. Should have mained. That's a different discussion. But yeah, so this was atrocious. And then the millions of fake stings come out.
For no reason. They didn't do anything.
Because we're not even at the worst part yet. We gotta talk about the fan later on.
The fan.
This company made $6.5 million.
I'm changing my rating as we go along.
Guys, this company drew okay, think about this. 405,000 people chose to spend $30 plus tax.
And 3 hours watching this.
And 3 hours watching this to watch this match.
Could watch a football game in this time.
Guys, it does not matter how much goodwill a pro wrestling company builds with its audience. If you keep giving them stuff like this, you run people away. That's just how, honestly, business in general works. And even more specifically, pro wrestling. So these millions of fake stings come out and do what?
Nothing.
Are they like the Watchers from the Marvel Universe? They just stand there and observe?
And they do nothing in the end except for get that fake fan sting out.
And we're getting there. So it's like they're trying to tease Hogan Sting. They're trying to do this long-term story of Hogan Sting. So like,
But like every pay-per-view this happens too. He'll come out and just watch the main event. And you're like, the fans are like standing up like, oh, Sting's gonna do something.
Yeah.
Nope, just stands there.
And so it teases it, which worked at first.
Yeah.
But you get to October 97 and it's like, guys, can we get to the payoff? Which they do in 2 months.
And Hogan actually played it off really well, because when he was walking away and he saw the two fake stings coming out, he sold it. He looked like somebody...
He saw ghosts.
Yes.
Yep.
And so he played it off well, but it never amounted to anything.
Never amounted to anything. So as we get closer to Starrcade 97 and the big showdown, hopefully the teases start to actually become builds, and we can get something materialized out of this. In the middle of all this, a quote-unquote fan, it was a
before
plant.
we get to that, can we get to...
Yeah.
So, right away.
Because we got to finish with the fan, but anything else that
we'll finish with the fan. The match starts, and Hogan tries to run away, starts climbing, and then Piper, and according to Bobby the Brain Heenan, he does this next indecent act, I'd say, because he wanted to, quote unquote, chew him out or chew him up, whatever he said.
Yeah.
Which, most people thought that was metaphorical.
Nope.
Piper comes out and bites Hogan's butt.
His right cheek, to be specific.
And then starts biting him elsewhere for the next 2 minutes.
I guess that's where John Moxley got the idea.
I was like, this is how it's starting. Okay.
Trevor's like, all-time classic right here.
Anyways, yeah, fan sting.
So then they're a fake fan. It was a plant, by the way.
I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know.
Okay, this was a plant?
This was a plant.
Okay.
This was a plant.
Oh, okay, because I couldn't tell if it was...
I didn't know either.
A fake one or somebody actually ran in.
Well, when I started getting questionable, when I thought it might be a plant, is when Hogan and Macho Man went over and started attacking him, because they weren't actually punching him.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, they wouldn't
if it was a real fan,
if it was a real if it was a real fan, they would actually start attacking this guy.
Wrestlers are trained to where if someone runs in the ring, you beat the crap out of them. And, no charges are ever levied against the wrestlers. Because, the court's you weren't supposed to be there. So
I would assume it would equivalent to trespassing or something like that.
Right. Well, unless, they kill somebody, obviously.
Right.
But, if you give a guy bruises and bloody nose.
Sure.
No judge is going to look favorably upon him.
No.
But, yeah, so it was a plant. He jumped the cage. The fake stings tried to hold him down. Hogan and Piper came and, quote-unquote, beat him up. And that's how the pay-per-view ended. What?
Yeah.
That fan is supposed to draw viewers the next night? What was the point of that? What are they doing? What money are you drawing? What payoff or build was there in that? Nothing!
That's why I thought he was fake for a while, because it's like, oh, yeah, we have to end it now, so we just stopped showing this fan run in the ring.
Made no sense.
Give the fan plant the title, for God's
Give
sake.
the plant fan.
That's what the fans want, probably.
I mean, that's basically what they end up doing when they give it to Arquette. But we'll hopefully get to that.
Let's never get there.
David Arquette has redeemed himself in my eyes. He's working very hard on the indie scene these days. Okay, so that's how the show ended, guys. No joke. Piper did get the win. He kicked out of 2 leg drops.
See, I didn't even know that Piper won the match.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that, but he did pin him. Yeah.
That's how atrociously...
That's when the fan ran... The ref ran into the locked door.
Yeah. So Piper got the pin. I have no idea if this will lead to a title match, because apparently this wasn't one. I have no idea where this is going. I have no idea what the heck's going to happen, because it didn't build anything. So, that's that. World War III is the next pay-per-view in November, and after that is the big one, Starrcade 97. That's how this ended. I gave this match 1 star. Trevor?
1 star.
1 star?
I gave it 0.75.
0.75. Meltz gave it the old goose egg. 0.
All right.
Dud.
Well, at least it didn't go negative.
At least you didn't go negative.
For Hogan and Piper to look at.
Guys, that's Havoc 97.
That was horrible.
That was atrocious. How long do you think this main event segment was? 40? 40 minutes with everything? Entrances, match, post-match shenanigans?
No. No,
No?
I started
No.
it, and it was 25 minutes.
Oh, really? It felt like
Yeah,
40.
I thought it was closer to about half an hour.
Because when the match actually started, I looked at it, and there's 20 minutes left.
Gotcha.
So I gave 5 minutes for intros.
Sure. It felt forever to me. This could not, because this is what counter-programmed. It wasn't on the same night, but like, this was the cage match compared with Hell in a Cell WWF the same month. The same month.
Well, can we say that at least they tried to recreate Hell in a Cell to a point? I mean, the cage was on the floor.
Listen, people that gave any kind of craps about good matches compared to just star power chose which promotion they were going to go with after this month. So, and big things are coming to WWF.
Yep.
They're about to get the biggest heel ever in the company's history. And I feel comfortable saying that.
Oh, yeah.
More so than Superstar Billy Graham. More so than... I don't even know who else would compete, to be honest, besides those two. So things are changing. Things are changing in the industry in late 97. Guys, this has been Rasslin Rewind on the Wrestling Landscape Podcast. For Luke Larson, for Trevor Larson, I'm Lance Larson. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This was a blast. And thank you, dear listener, for listening. And take care.